It's 107.7 The Bone, Baby Huey and Chasta here. And Chasta, look at this. I think it's safe to say this is your all-time favorite guest.
This is my all-time favorite guest in my 17 years of radio. And this is our second time we get to interview the best friend of my head, Kamau Bell, comedian and host of CNN's United Shades of America.
And we already agreed to be best friends last time, so I
can't believe you remembered that.
You don't call. I've not even got a text.
I comment all the time on Twitter, but
it doesn't feel very BFF. That's all I'm saying.
We'll get better at our relationship. Okay. I promise. I can't believe you agreed to come back and hang out with us again.
Is this place so bad? I think it was fun.
I brought you water this time. So
thank you. Good. It does say a lot about your guest list that I'm your favorite one. We need to talk to the people here in this radio conglomerate about bumping up the guest list. This is some rock stars walking through here.
Well,
right?
I mean, but that's the thing. This is going to sound funny. We do get to interview rock stars a lot. Mm-hmm. And so talking about music is sort of our easy, safe place. And I like to push myself to do more, I don't want to say important. That's not the word I'm looking for. Things that change the game a little bit. And I feel like your show, there's a ton of entertainment shows out there that people watch just for that, for entertainment value. But United Shades of America is actually the most important show on TV. That's the way that I feel.
I mean, I guess we can't be the most popular.
If you can't beat Game of Thrones, you might as well change the world.
And I understand we're going up. We're not going up directly against Game of Thrones, but we're like the last when they make those super long episodes.
Yeah.
We're like in the part where nobody's turning the channel. Yeah. So even my mom is like, I'll catch it a little late tonight.
Your mom's like, is it on demand yet?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I'm hearing a lot from people. Is it on demand? Yeah. Yes, it's on demand. So yeah,
it is. I will vouch for that. That's how I catch up. I mean, you're on your fourth season right now, but all the other previous
there's a lot
seasons.
of TV. It's NBA playoffs. I don't pick the time slot. But luckily they repeat them a lot, and
yes, they do.
I know I have a contract for season 5, so otherwise I'd be super nervous about it.
I was gonna say, so there's a season 5. Breaking news.
Yeah,
that's great.
It's the first time I've known that we had another season coming. So this season was a lot more like, we can relax and have a little fun.
You can take a deep breath.
Yeah, I mean a little bit. It was like.
Yeah.
I mean, I got 3 kids now, so I'm not taking too many deep breaths.
Yeah, that's true. Baby Huey and I were just talking about that. So your youngest is a year old almost?
Yeah, good to look at you. All right.
I have a good memory. I do follow. See, we're besties. I know your life. But it's funny. I
don't talk about the new baby. Like the first baby, I put it all up on all the social media.
Yeah.
Second baby, this time I was like, I'll just tell my friends. So I've talked about it, but I haven't put all the pictures up. So that means you're paying attention.
I am paying attention.
We are good. We are best friends.
Are you sleeping yet?
Here's the funny thing: we just did our first 2 kids are great in every way, except they didn't sleep.
Yeah.
So it was our fault. We just didn't. My wife doesn't have the stomach. I think I can say this for sleep training kids.
Oh yeah.
So this time we're all a lot older than we were with the first kid, and it was starting to what's the word? Kill us.
Yeah.
And so she wasn't sleeping great, and so we just hired a sleep trainer, a woman who comes in the house who basically. You pay her to tell you to do what every article on the internet says.
Mm-hmm. Stay away.
Yeah, close the door, walk away.
Yeah.
The baby's not gonna cry themselves to death. So
I did this by myself. I didn't hire anybody.
Well, no, you don't. My wife luckily this woman she's very nice. She was very reasonable. I was like, I will pay whatever it takes, but it was not as expensive as I was gonna be. And she, all she does is she just basically she shames you into not going in the room.
Totally. You know what I did? I went in the bathtub and put my headphones on and watched YouTube videos for a couple minutes. Got through it.
Yeah,
because sleep training, for those who don't have children, basically you have to walk out the door and your kid is still awake but sleepy, and then they start crying. So you close the door and you leave them for 3 minutes, and then you go back in and you calm them down and you say you're good, and then you walk back out and you go away for 5 minutes.
And the kid cries
and they cry and they cry.
But it's here's the thing I think for moms, I think it's a lot harder. It doesn't bother me at all.
It didn't bother me.
I will sit outside the room watching YouTube videos but my wife couldn't take it, so we had to bring in another. And also I travel a lot, so we had to bring in this woman who was I mean, the funny thing is, I think all her business is referral, because she had another job before she left our neighborhood. Somebody's like, "Are you the?" so I don't think she didn't. She literally did not get out of the neighborhood without another job. So yeah,
I can see why.
Yeah, and
it's tough.
So it's just. I think it's a luxury to not sleep train your kid, because think about if we were all still plowing the fields, you would just put the baby down and go about your business.
Right.
But since we live in this world where it's I don't know how I can get my baby to sleep and keep up with Netflix.
Right.
So we're in the golden age of television that that there has to be articles about how to sleep train your kid. But I told my wife, we just paid this woman to do it. Every article I emailed you said.
Yeah.
Somehow I didn't know what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Right. I don't blame her. The woman was was great.
That's funny. So season 4 has officially begun, and I will tell you, you started some crap in my house.
I'm a crap starter. That's I'm gonna put that on my business card.
Apparently,
this is not the first time I've heard about people sitting down to watch United Shades to come together through some television that brings people together, and it tore our house apart.
Pretty much, yeah. So megachurches was episode 1 of season 4. And Baby Huey and I have been talking about this because I'm from the South. I'm from Southern Oklahoma. I did not grow up in a megachurch, but they are very prominent in that area. Yeah. I grew up in church 3 days a week, Friday mornings Bible study, and then Sunday, and then Wednesday night. I'm married to a guy from Oakland, and he was raised not in religion.
He was raised to believe in the Raiders.
Yeah. And so when we had a kid, we were like, how are we going to do this religious thing? And we figured, when he gets old enough, we'll figure it out. Well, now he's kind of old enough. Yeah. So a week before I saw your episode, we were having this very intense conversation about religion. So it was an awkward moment to watch this episode with him. And I was like, there were moments where you were talking about mega churches and the money behind them. Mm-hmm. And of course, he's looking at me like, see? See what I'm telling you about? And then the moments, like the end of the episode, where you're talking to this really beautiful man who's getting it right about religion. And I was all, See, that's what I'm talking about.
That's what I like to do with the show. Is like I like to give everybody a moment of that's what I'm talking about. And then you go,
successful.
Wait, do we all know what we're talking about, or do none of us know what we're talking about?
I think
that's really the thing. But I mean, I learned a lot in that episode because I sort of had only associated megachurch. Like we talked to a guy, Pastor Ed at Fellowship Church, who I haven't heard from, but. I think we sort of painted a pretty honest portrait of and he's pretty. I asked him about the money, and he's according to Google, he's worth $11 million. But he says he gives a lot of it back to the church. But because
there's
churches
no way to prove that.
Because churches, we separate church and state only in this way, no other way. Where churches don't not even the thing I was trying to make in the point I was trying to make in the episode is every nonprofit or every charity that says the Red Cross or something like we're here to raise money for this. Mm-hmm. They have to show how much of the money they are raising goes to that. Right. They have to, and how much everybody on their church, makes in their nonprofit. So because you hear that all the time, people go, the person who works at that charity makes this much money. Yeah. Or there's Charity Navigator, which will tell you every charity how much they're giving. Weirdly, churches, the original charity, don't have to do that.
It's a blind spot.
And I think it's because initially, I think we talked about this, the Virginia Baptists who wanted to separate church from state, did it because they didn't want a small church to be bankrupted by taxes.
And that's fair.
That's totally fair.
They couldn't imagine mega churches, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's the joke we have in the episode. They couldn't. The founders of the America couldn't imagine mega churches, just like they couldn't imagine Elon Musk selling you a flamethrower.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. They would have covered. They would have said, "Well, people shouldn't have flamethrowers," but they didn't know. I think a lot of times in this country we looked at what the founders thought, and they didn't have enough imagination for what we were going to get into.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's fair. It's really interesting. 2 years ago, actually, Baby Huey, I texted him this yesterday on Facebook. You know how Facebook does Facebook memories. Mm-hmm. 2 years ago, I tweeted you. This was before we became best friends. I tweeted you, and I said to you, every time I watch United Shades, I cry. The most important show on TV. I hope you're immensely proud of what you're doing. And you said, I am. But also, I'm always worried that we don't get the stories correct.
Look at me. I'm good on that social media.
You are.
I'm pretty proud of myself because I try to respond to people, especially when people say things that are worth responding to.
Yeah, important.
Yeah. So,
how do you feel now that you're 4 seasons in and you're really making change? I saw on your Instagram the guy who went and introduced himself to his Sikh neighbors.
Yeah, based on after the episode we did.
That's real change.
I mean, I put it up because it really sort of blew me away. Somebody sent me that message on Instagram, and I asked the person if I could put it up, but because I don't know how much change the show is making. I mean, for me, it's I feel like we have pretty much proven that the leadership of this country is bad in every episode, and yet here we still are. So
here we are.
I sort of have that idea of I don't know why we haven't fixed this problem yet. I said this in one interview I did recently. I was like, every week the show's like, hey, America, be nice to each other, and America's like, nah,
we're good.
Yep. I recognize that I can't expect the big change, but when I hear from people who do things like that, specifically that, because I hear people all the time about how they talk to their families about it, how they watch it together. Even families watching it together is a big deal to me because I just didn't picture that when I made it. But then to hear that somebody actually went outside of themselves based on that, I'm like, it feels good. And yet at the same token, I'm still I was watching the megachurch episode we could have done that better. Oh, we should talk to that guy. Also, the show is 42 minutes long with commercial, which in the current era, like only commercial television feels like it has to be like because of commercials.
Right.
And so I'm always like, if we could just be like a Netflix hour.
I know, right?
Because we are always cutting out essential things that I'm like, that aren't bad, that are like, or scenes that get so hectic. Like we had a great scene, a little bit of it's online, where Pastor Mike in the episode goes to a bar and talks to atheists. Like
Ooh, really?
And part of it's on CNN's website, CNN.com.
Okay, I'll go check it out.
But it was like the most fascinating 45 minutes of conversation because he was like going back and forth with these atheists, and it got pretty sloppy. It got pretty like, like they were starting to get, and it was and literally he had to go to the airport, and I had to stand up and go, we have to stop because he's got to go to the airport.
They edited that out?
We couldn't get, you needed to see like a 10-minute version of it, and no segment in the show is going to be 10 minutes long, so it's like, it's, so it's just things that are just great that just don't fit in a TV hour. Yeah. So I mean, yes, I always feel like we should do more. I'm always worried about fact checking because you think you check the facts, and then somebody. I mean, we've had things like and sometimes I'll send somebody an episode. Hey, just check this out before it airs. They're like, you mispronounced that word. I'm like, no. And then we have to go. So we've done it a couple times where we've gone back in. We have an episode right now at the ACLU about it's in Milwaukee, talking about stop and frisk in Milwaukee, where cops stop people and frisk them when they shouldn't. And we just had a fact wrong. And luckily, I just happened to screen it with some people at the ACLU I know in New York, just because I was like, you guys want to see it? Yeah. And they're like, that's great. That's wrong. Okay. And so we're like, today, after we leave here, we're going to go re-record like one line of VO just because of the fact.
But it's an important line.
It's an important line.
Get that right.
That's the thing. I'm still just more worried now because I think the information is more critical now,
That's fair, yeah.
No, that's really interesting you brought that up because I was thinking about that. I was like, I'm watching this and it's like your show, and I see like other similar shows like The Daily Show or even John Oliver's show. These shows where you're trying to present actual news and facts, but at the same time be entertaining and funny.
Yeah.
Do you ever, like, you just kind of touch on it. I'm sure, you watch this and it's like, I hope we did this right, because do you ever get worried that people might call you out for being biased or like you didn't tell the full story or you didn't get all the facts about that? Like I always wonder, like that must be like just a constant thing you're thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I've accepted that when people say you didn't tell the full story. Of course we didn't.
Yeah.
42 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Did the best we could.
We didn't tell any full stories. It's impossible. So I just try to, with something like megachurches, you want to touch on enough of the big sort of like tension points that you feel like that people aren't just thinking that megachurches are like Pastor Ed's, where it's like the one you see on TV.
Right.
So I felt you want to touch on the big, that episode is like the sort of the glamoury televangelist megachurch, a black social justice megachurch, an LGBTQ plus megachurch. Which
was fascinating,
yeah, that I didn't know when they said.
I didn't know existed.
I didn't know existed either. I mean, we were like driving up to it. I was like, the biggest LGBTQ megachurch in the world. Was it 50 people?
I know. I didn't know there was one. I was impressed in Dallas, of all places, that there was one.
And so there's all these things. And it was like, and then we had the story with this woman, Emily Joy, who started this hashtag Church Too in reference to Toronto Burke's Me Too, to talk about abuse she suffered in the church. And it was like, so we don't want to just focus on the money. We don't want to just focus on the different types of megachurch. We also want to, it was important in the episode that the problem is the lack of oversight with these megachurches. Like, so that, and especially the problem is if you're being abused at your church, we talk about with Catholics all the time, who do you turn to?
Exactly.
Where do you go? And because that's where you're supposed to go.
Right.
So, so I think I'm not worried about telling the whole story. I want to tell enough a little, but I am worried about, most I'm just worried, and I'm not worried about being accused of being biased because, breaking news, I am. I have a bias towards justice and equity
exactly.
and inclusion, but I'm only worried about facts. So if I'm using a fact to support why I feel this way, I want the fact to be right. Yeah.
Interesting also is, when I'm watching this, it's like, okay, you have your narrative that you're trying to tell in 42 minutes. I always was curious, like the behind the scenes process for this. Like, megachurches, it just premiered this last Sunday on CNN. How long ago was this originally came up with? Like, who came with the idea? Do you sit there and pitch ideas? And then it's like, okay, let's go with that. And then, okay, how we get the ball going? Like, where do we want to go? What guests do we book? Like, it's just that whole process from beginning to end.
Well, so I've been wanting to do a megachurch episode since season 1. It just, it also depends on what CNN feels like is relevant to the audience. So I've been talking about this. Also, in season 1, there was a show called Believer with Reza Aslan, which was about religion. So, it sort of took all the religion things off the table for a while. So some of that's a part of it. But this season they said yes. And then it's about, our show is based on destination, so we have to pick a fertile destination. Like, we're not going to fly to the 10 biggest megachurches in the country because we only shoot for 6 days.
Right.
So we have to sort of find.
Texas served you up proper with
Dallas
megachurches.
was like, well, let's just.
We got you.
Yeah, literally, Dallas invented it, I guess. So we'll just go there.
Yeah.
And so you want to pick a fertile destination, and then you find out then you figure out what's in that place that you have, like in that city, if you were to ask people about churches, which of the churches they would talk about. So then if you figure out the ones you can go to and the ones you can't go to, the people are like there's one, I can't remember the name of the church, but there's a big one there, like gets 40,000 people a week, but we just talked about it in the episode. So even though we couldn't go to it.
Right.
And then it's about like, well, are there any, like every night we can fly in a couple people to talk to. So Emily Joy, who's a woman who, her experience was not in Texas of being abused at a megachurch, but it was a megachurch. So we flew her in to talk to her. So,
a very important part of the story.
And a very important part of the story. So, and I think there's a really, like this season we had a really big brainstorming session where everybody sort of comes in with their ideas and everybody sort of just pitches, and then one producer takes it and sort of forms it. And then it'll be sent to me, and then I'll look at it and feel like what is missing or the stuff that I really like a lot. And then we basically go and we shoot for 6 days. And then once we're there will be things where you're like, I heard about this. We need to go over here. While we're here, we should do this thing. So there's a lot of that too, where it's like on the ground, you start to get some new things.
Gosh, Kamau, you really have your hands all over it. I have to tell you, I'm a little bit jealous of your legacy. Legacy is my word. I mean, honestly, legacy is my
Am
word.
I done?
No,
Legacy is a finished word.
Yeah, it does sound that way, but legacy is my word for 2019. Like every year I write a list of things I want to accomplish and focus on something in my life, and legacy is that word for me. We talk about this a lot, Huey and I do. But yeah, the legacy that you're building, like you really have such a huge platform to make real change. And I think it has a lot of pressure, but so much value and so much importance. What are some of the other things that you guys are covering on this season?
So this upcoming week, it's an episode that sort of came from me. I mean, as far as like wanting to do an episode about this, the specific way we're doing it is from Kelly, who's sitting over there, who works with me. Yeah. But I travel around a lot, San Francisco, airports, coffee shops, and white people. People always love the show. Lots of people from all different races. But then white people come to me and go, I love your show. How do I help? What do I do?
Right. What do I do?
I've retweeted you, but I don't know what else to do. Is there a GoFundMe? I don't know what else to do. Like, is there a
GoFundMe for racism?
Yeah, Patreon? Is there a Patreon?
If it were that easy, yeah,
is there a YouTube video I should watch? I don't know what else to do. And so this episode is called Not All White People, and it's filmed in Seattle and Tacoma about white activists who are like anti-racist.
Love that.
Activists, specifically on anti-racism, because right now we see all this stuff in the news of white people who are racist. And so this is like, but we see white people who aren't racist but aren't doing anything. And like, I didn't vote for them, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
Right.
So this is for white people who are like, I'm not racist, but I'm also an anti-racist, and I'm going to do some work.
They're actively doing work.
So like, for example, Kelly, who discovered, heard of this group called the Redneck Revolt, which sounds scary. But it's actually rednecks revolting against the rednecks who are racist.
Love it.
Yeah, so we talked to a group up there who was affiliated with him at the time called the John Brown Gun Club. John Brown.
Where are these? What state are we talking about here?
Washington. This is Tacoma and Seattle, Washington.
Wow. Okay. Didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
I thought they were my people from the South. I was confused.
Yeah, okay. No. That's why I like about doing the show too, is that people don't expect that's going to happen in the Pacific Northwest, but the Pacific Northwest is a hotbed for white nationalism.
Wow.
It's very, all that area, think about, it's very close to Idaho, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. There's a lot of, it's also, most of those states are like rural,
very rural.
So I think it's like, that's where a lot of the stuff comes from.
Yeah.
So, not all of it, some of it comes from New York City, but, it's this hotbed that nobody knows about. It's this Redneck Revolt, and then it's also other activists in and around Seattle. And then because I wanted to like have fun with it and bring in somebody who I know knows a lot about this, Alicia Garza, one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matters in the episode.
Nice.
And so she meets with the John Brown Gun Club and like sort of sizes them up. It's a great scene of her like, so tell me about this.
Yeah,
it's all these anti-racist white people like, well, Miss, God, is it hot in here? So it's like all these white activists who are like, support her work, but also didn't know they'd be looking at her in the face.
Of course, yeah.
And then we have one of her friends, George Gold from the People's Action, which is a multiracial coalition. And it's a great episode. I shoot guns in that episode. A gun punches me in the nose.
Oh, geez.
A lot of things happen.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It got like backfired. The kick, whatever it's called, recoil.
They gave me a gun that was not set up for someone of my size.
Oh, fantastic!
And so it punched me in the nose. Which every gun advocate on the internet's like, he shouldn't be shooting. Why would they? Because it's like they make us look bad. It's like, hey man, they handed me that gun. I shot it and punched me in the nose. Yeah. What am I gonna do? Not put it on TV? Yeah. Still a comedian.
Blooper reel. Yeah.
Seriously.
Have you ever?
And we went in that episode. We go to a rally at a Nazi-owned tattoo shop. We go with these Redneck Revolt people because they were like, we're staging a rally at this Nazi-owned tattoo shop in Tacoma. you want to come with us? And of course I said yes.
Are you ever fearful that you're going to be right in the middle of like a freaking riot that breaks out in the middle of something like that?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I'd say you don't want to be in the middle of a riot that breaks out. We have instituted a lot more safety since season 1.
I would imagine, yeah.
That one, there was a lot of like really preparation because they were just worried. There's also now this worry that I'm a public person that like people may be like, I wasn't going to riot, but I see that guy from CNN over there.
Exactly,
so, I mean, people call me CNN guy a lot. So you might be angry at CNN, not really know who I am, but be like, so that's true on the left and the right. But so I think that like, so that one, there was a lot of pre-planning about, there's also like, should Kamau wear a bulletproof vest? I'm like, I'm not wearing a bulletproof vest. Oof. I was, and I'm also not going to run in the middle of the fight either.
Right. Let me clear.
I'm not like going to not wear the bulletproof vest and also be on the front lines. I'm just going to stay to the side and not wear a bulletproof. Yeah. Right. I'm not going in like season 3 of Luke Cage. But no wonder they canceled it. He died. You should have had a bulletproof vest on.
Hope you have a really good insurance policy.
But yeah, so I mean, that was really like a lot more planning went into that than went into the KKK, which is funny because that one was the one that was
super dicey, but it was super early. So
season was episode 1, season 1, first thing we ever shot. So I yes, but we have done a lot of more talking about security, and so. Like we hire security now to just be with us. Like there's usually some sort of plainclothes security person there for people who are thinking about killing me, because it just so we can all relax, you know. Because there's we live in America and people are like walking into synagogues and stuff. So
absolutely,
I wouldn't, So but that doesn't mean I'm not worried, and it also means my wife wants to know exactly what's going on and who's there and how it's going to sit down and
because she's thinking about your babies.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand that. So off topic a little bit, we wanted to kind of wrap up talking to you about music because that's what we do. We're a rock station. We love music. So we kind of wanted to know your love of music. Who do you love? Who do you, who inspires you in the music world?
Well, this season, it's sort of related to United Shades. We changed the theme song from the national anthem to Lift Every Voice and Sing, which is the Negro national anthem.
Yeah.
And it's played by Vernon Reid from Living Colour.
Awesome.
So that was, I've known Vernon for years now. That was my band back in the day, Living Colour. I mean, they're still my band now, but that was like my first, this band is talking to me.
Yeah.
So to be able to reach out to him and go, hey, would you like to re-record?
What a cool full circle moment for you.
Yeah, it's a cool full circle. So that I'm super excited to have him playing on the song, on the theme song. So,
wow.
Back in the day, like it was Living Colour, it was Fishbone, Rage Against the Machine. My Seattle band was Soundgarden. So I feel like I was at the age where you had to have one, and I was like, oh no, I'm with Sound. I'm with those people.
Grab that one,
I'm with that one. I mean, everybody else is fine.
Yeah. It's a good choice, though.
It served me well. There's a band out now that's a brass band. They have guitars too, but they're a brass band called Brass Against, which does covers of like Rage Against the Machine, Audio Slave, Tool. They're big on YouTube. It's called Brass Against. They're amazing. So it's like a Rage Against the Machine song with a brass section.
Oh, that's sick. I'm going to check that out. They have a couple.
One of the lead singers is a woman, and it's funny how she has the exact timbre of Zach De La Rocha. So it's like it really feels like they should probably call her.
Yeah.
I know Tom Morello's trying to keep Rage going.
Yeah, exactly.
They should just call her. But
get her.
Yeah, Brass Against. They do a lot of live YouTube clips, and that's a band that I'm really a big fan of.
We'll have to check them out. There's your hot tip of the day from Kamau. Brass Against. All right, we'll look them up.
I was gonna say, do you got to see local music at all? Or I know you seem like you're always on the road.
I'm always on the road, and I got a 10-month-old, so I'll get back to it.
Eventually.
I mean, I went to the Avengers the other day. I was like 3 hours.
Oh yeah.
What do they think? I got 3 hours.
Yeah.
I was gonna go to like a 10:30 show. I was like, I would fall asleep.
Yeah, there's no way.
I would wake up like, what happened? Is everybody fine?
Parents don't stay up past 10:30 anymore.
No. Fantastic Negritos.
Oh my gosh, we just had them on Soundwaves TV.
Yeah.
Fantastic. No pun intended.
It's funny. I don't think I've ever seen him live, but I listen to that album all the time.
Oh yeah. He's great.
Yeah. One thing I always would love to know about comedians is one thing Chasta and I always love about comedians is see a lot of similarities with musicians as far as you're coming up with material, you're performing on stage for an audience. You have your own specific style, which is very band's genre. You're always coming up with new material. Mm-hmm. For you, I always love to learn kind of your history a little bit. It's for you, do you remember what your first joke was and where'd you performed it at?
I do remember where my first set was. It was the No Exit Cafe in Chicago, Illinois. I think they charged the comedians $1 to perform because comedians didn't buy anything. So it's a coffee shop, so you had to pay $1 to perform.
Oh my God, that's funny. Pay to play.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, you're gonna sit in that seat with your notebook, taking notes, not paying attention.
You're not gonna do anything.
So it costs $1 if you want to get on the stage. And so, I paid $1 to perform.
Wow.
I don't remember my first jokes because I was so bad. I was just yammering, and I just yammered for 5 minutes. And when I got off stage, people were like, "You have really good stage presence," which is a fancy way of saying you don't have any jokes at all. And so, it was probably. I mean, it was probably a year before I wrote jokes. Were like, "Oh, this is a joke. I can tell this joke twice, and it gets a laugh."
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, so how do you go about writing joke? Like I think like musicians, that they sit down and maybe write lyrics, or maybe when they're walking around on their phone, they're like, "Hey Siri, please write down this song," or these lyrics I have here. For you, what is your writing process?
I'm like Jay-Z.
Quote of the day. Yep.
I'm like
basically Jay-Z.
I used to have like when I met my wife, just stacks and stacks of notebooks where I'd write every thought down, and they would collect around the house. You'd be like, "We have to throw them away. When I die, you'll be able to sell these." This is my goal. This is my oeuvre.
Yeah.
But then, really, as I got busier, as we had kids, it became a thing where there'll be notes. I'll write down a thing in my phone, one thing to make me think of something. And then when it's time to do a set, I'll just write those things down on a piece of paper, and I'll just be on stage and I'll look and go, "I don't remember what that is." But let's start talking about it. Or things will just sort of marinate in my head. And so if I go on tour, I will just sort of go out with an hour of things that have just been marinating in my head, and some old jokes that I know that can sort of stitch it together. I always want to have an opener and a closer. But I'm really a lot of it is and then on stage talking through it, and you go, your brain will just take you to places where you go, "Oh, I didn't know I was going to say that." Or because if the crowd doesn't laugh, you're like, "Oh, I need to act this out," or I need to talk more about this because they don't get it. And so a lot of it does happen. Most of it now happens on stage extemporaneously in a way that then I'll do it over and over again. But really, jokes aren't written down in any sort of form anywhere.
That's a true art.
I mean, I think it's extreme laziness.
Yeah, or that, whatever.
Well, how did you decide this is the style of comedy I want to tell? There's so many different styles and performers, how they deliver their material. For you, it's very much observational humor, political, calling out, what's wrong in this world. It's how for you decide this is the voice I want to have when I go up and perform on stage? I
mean, I think it's you sort of the crowd. A lot of the crowd tells you who you are on stage, and then you decide if you like that. So I think that
right?
Because the crowd can lie to you, and then you go if you the crowd will often laugh at easy jokes, and if you sort of go into that direction, you'll just write easy jokes. But a lot of times, I think the lesson is the stuff that you think is really funny. For me, I came to the point where it's the things that makes my best. Used to be if I told a joke and only my best friend laughed, Jason, my other best friend.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was getting defensive there for a second.
If Jason laughed, I was like, "Oh, this joke was only funny to my best friend because he knows me. I should throw this joke away." Oh. But then I got to the point where if only Jason's laughing, "Oh, this is the joke I need to focus on." Because this is the joke that defines me. Because Jason's I know you and I know whether that's funny.
Oh, that's good.
And then you have to sort of stow. But then I came from a house where where my mom talked about politics and race relations, and I was an only child, so she was taking me to places where she wasn't getting babysitters, single parent, and so I was hearing adult conversations. It was right of the civil rights movement, and so I didn't want to talk about that stuff. It's just when I got on stage and started to really the stuff I cared about, it just ended up being that stuff because I think I just grew up in that household. So.
It's so relatable. I mean, because that's what you've lived, and that's what comes out on stage, and obviously comes out in your TV show.
And then my favorite comedians were just people who were doing that.
Yeah,
like Bill Hicks, Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle.
Right, riffing on real life stuff.
Yeah, people people who are talking about the world and what's wrong with it. That was always the stuff.
And the things we need to fix.
And the things we need to fix.
Wow. Well, I think the problem with you is we could talk to you all day.
Sorry, my bad.
Because you're my bestie.
Yes.
But we won't monopolize all of your time because we know you have other places to go. But we really appreciate you taking the time to be here.
Always happy to be here.
I'm such a big fan of yours. You have no idea. Bestie! So now you have to come back. I mean, you're just across the bridge from us. So.
I know.
I mean, it's right there.
There's a lot of traffic across that bridge. Can we do it at 3 in the morning when there's no traffic?
It is $6 now, by the way. So, we owe you. But anyway, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So, United Shades of America, CNN, season 4, right? Yeah, episode 2 is coming this weekend. So
Sunday nights, 10 p.m.
Who needs Game of Thrones? It's almost over.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I'm not gonna try to tell you not to watch Game of Thrones.
On demand.
On demand.
Fair
it's
enough.
just, or it's just there. United Shades.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
Changing the world.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.